welcome back to the shop. Today I have a special guest, Uncle Keith Rucker. He came down to the shop today. You want to tell him why you're down here today?
Yeah, so probably about 6 months ago, I was fortunate enough that I picked up a TIG welder for my shop. My problem is that I haven't TIG welded anything since about 1989. And let's just say the technology's changed a lot and I've forgotten most of what I knew. So I needed just a good day of basic training, and I came to see the man.
So you realize in 1989 I was getting ready to graduate high school, right?
I was just right out of it myself, so I'm not too far ahead of you.
So Keith came down today. He asked me to run him through the class that I helped Lincoln Electric teach. So we did some hands-on training today. Instead of giving a whole lesson about TIG welding and it can get a little bit boring, what we decided to do is let Keith give you like a couple of his takeaways from basically spending a whole day in the shop. So what was your number one takeaway?
You know, for me, probably one of the biggest thing was just learning how to get good heat control. And for that, a big part of it is not only eye-hand coordination, you know, with your hands and everything, but getting that foot pedal in there. And I'm not used to having that foot coordination with everything else going on.
So it's hand-eye, foot, brain coordination, because you have to coordinate your brain at the same time.
And that's a lot of things to coordinate.
That is a lot of
someone like me.
So here's a little trick for you guys that are starting off TIG welding. A lot of people will tell you, go ahead and take your machine, set your machine wide open and use your foot pedal to control it. False statement. Keith can tell you firsthand today that puts a lot of sensitivity in the pedal. It makes the pedal very, very sensitive. So let's just say that you're only gonna need 100 amps to weld. Maybe set your machine to 110, 120 amps to weld. That makes the pedal much less sensitive, so you can make much smaller incremental adjustments in the pedal with pedal movement without changing it, say 25 amps, you might only be changing it 2 or 3 amps.
Exactly.
And you struggle with that a little bit in the beginning.
I did, and it was one of those things, and I won't say by any means I'm a master of it, but I'm at least where I can do it now. So.
You actually did very, very well today. You know, a few more days of welding and you may be sitting for a couple of your certification tests maybe.
So, you know, another thing that was really kind of challenging for me, particularly making a long weld, you're blind because you're under the hood and everything, and being able to just move your hand smoothly as you're going, and you showed a pretty cool trick for that.
Take a look at this. This is soapstone. If you ever worked in any kind of metal before, soapstone is kind of like a chalk. A lot of guys use it to mark out where they want to make their cuts. And where you're going to be sliding that hand back and forth, take your soapstone and just rub it against the workbench back and forth a few times. Acts just like talcum powder. Not everybody has talcum powder in the shop, but it makes a nice smooth glide for that glove going across there. Plus, it's always handy to have the soapstone laid out there to mark the next thing.
Huge tip. So another thing, and again, it was just more practice and learning, but getting the angle of the torch just right. It's natural, you know, you want to see what's going on, you want to lean that torch back, and I'm constantly having to pull it up and just kind of getting my muscle memory where it's going to go in there and be right every time.
Torch angle is extremely important when you're TIG welding. Keith learned firsthand today that every time he would roll that hand back with that torch and get it leaned back, he'd start having problems controlling the heat, getting the weld puddle to do what he wanted. Proper torch angle is 90 degrees to the plate. So we have a 90-degree angle here, we have a 90-degree angle here. In our forward direction of travel, we can go about 15 to 20 degrees in the direction of our travel and still get our heat going down instead of forward. We don't want that heat to go forward, we want that heat to go down. Makes a world of difference, and a lot of people have the tendency, because they want to see, they roll that torch back. Instead of rolling the torch back, get your head down and watch what you're seeing. Keep the torch angle correct. Major problem a lot of folks have.
Yeah, another big one here was just keeping that tungsten sharp. And particularly, again, being a newbie and learning, you know, I was constantly getting my filler rod or contaminating it into the pool or whatever and having to go back and sharpen that. But wow, what a difference it makes.
A pointed tungsten puts the arc and the heat exactly where we want it, which you saw every time that thing started to get dirty, the heat would go in different directions and it wouldn't go right where you wanted it.
Right. Another one, shielding gas, making sure we're not losing it. You know, we're down here in Florida. It's rather warm today.
90 plus degrees.
We turned some fans on, you know, as the morning wore on, and all of a sudden started having problems. Why's that?
Yeah, shielding gas is extremely important. Shielding gas keeps the oxygen and nitrogen in our atmosphere away from the weld puddle. It is imperative that no oxygen, nitrogen, or any of the other trace elements can get into the weld puddle while it's molten. So what was happening with Keith is he was doing a little aluminum welding. We had a fan across the shop, just giving us good ventilation, keeping the shop a little cooler. And it would every now and then gust just a little bit and blow some oxygen to the shielding gas, and he would start to get a black weld. Anytime you see a weld that has, especially aluminum, that has black in it, like sooty looking black, that's air or contaminated gas is getting underneath that the weld plume coming out of the torch.
And then the other big thing for me was just learning about all the different types of filler rods. I mean, Jim's got over there, I don't know, a dozen different types of filler rods. And I'm like, oh, which ones do I use or whatever? So we got a good primer on that as well.
So realize that there's a lot of helpful information out there, and we talked about that today a little bit, to fill your filler metals. Aluminums, there's about 7,000 spaces on the aluminum alloy chart for aluminum. You cannot guess. You can't. Some aluminums are not weldable. Doesn't matter what the filler metal is. Some are. Which one do I use? Which one's the best? All the work has already been done for you. Go to Google, type in aluminum alloy chart. Typically Alcoa, because they're a big aluminum supplier, pops up first. Aluminum alloy chart, look at what your parent metal is. 5052 aluminum. 5052, it'll tell you your first choice, second choice, third choice for your filler metals. The work is already done. When you're dealing with stainless steels, because we did a little stainless steel today, stainless steels, the trick to stainlesses is, if you don't know what the alloy is, say for instance, if you don't know if it's 304 or 308, always choose the higher alloy number to weld stainlesses. With steels, we also learned today on filler metals that TIG steel filler ER70S6 is what we were using today, is actually, Keith learned that it's MIG wire. It's MIG wire that's been straightened out, and they coin the end to tell you that it's ER70S6, and they cut it in 36-inch lengths.
Right.
So it's the same thing as MIG as TIG. We use the same wire, but not the same as gas welding wire.
Well, all in all, it was a great day. I'm ready to go home now, get my welder fired up, and start doing some practicing at home, and hopefully do some welding here pretty quick.
These two Southern boys came down the shop. We have fun today, and I think Uncle Keith is a little tired. He might need to drive home and prop his feet up at the end of the night. You don't realize how much welding takes out of you.
It really does.
Sitting there staring behind that shield all day. And I get, granted, for you it's a little frustrating because you got that learning curve going on, but man, Keith did outstanding. I'm really excited to see where he goes with what we gave him today. We gave you some handouts, put another little check mark for another guy that's had a TIG welding class.
There you go. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Hey everybody, I hope you've enjoyed just a couple minutes with Uncle Keith Rucker here at the Do-Right Fabrication Shop. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed what you saw here today. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and like us on Facebook. Please, somewhere down below here is a link. We've got a lot more really cool stuff coming. Is that right, camera guy? Is there a link down there? Send me a comment. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Click whatever link, click something. See you soon.